What would happen though if all of a sudden you were to see? If these veils of your third eye were like lifted and you started to all of a sudden see? You know, what comes to mind is Diana's story of the first time she ever met a fairy. She was being hosted for a class in Washington, not DC, Washington State. And she was staying at her host house that was out in the forest where there are a lot of amazing, huge fir trees and redwoods and things. And so she's showering and she has the window open. She's looking out onto this garden, and in through the window flies these two fairies. And they're about this tall, right? I believe this is in the book. It's something that we talk about in the basic class. And she hears them talking to her in her thoughts. You know, they telepathically communicate with her. And they say, "What are you doing?" And she's, you know, soaping up her legs to shave her legs. And she's like, "I'm shaving my legs." And they go, "Why?" And she goes, "Because we shave our legs." And all of a sudden they burst their legs out and being all hairy, and then all the hair falls off and they laugh and they swirl around and they fly out the window, right? So this was her first experience of fairies. She grew up religious. She always believed in angels. She believed in God. She was not a very like out to nature type of person and never played in that place. So she thought she was going crazy, right? Where her husband's like, "Oh yeah, that's just the elementals. That's just fairies. You know, he's a farmer. He was always out in the land. He had that experience already." And yet she experienced it, right? So how is it that she was physically seeing them? Are they that rare that it's like you can never meet one? You know, how many of you have ever experienced an elemental, a fairy before? Have you seen it? Did you see it with your eyes? Our experiences can be invited in, like having these abilities is something that can be developed. That it's not like some people can see them and some people can't. It is actually through reprogramming our filtration. Okay, because this is the thing. We are receiving that light. We're exposed to this spectrum. Your eye is receiving the light. You are seeing their shapes. It is just your subconscious is programmed to not accept it, is not used to identifying what it is. If it is just a streak of light, okay, if you are seeing them move by, this is why certain people, they will see the aura of a spirit out of the corner of their eye rather than focusing. So there are certain keys here that we're going to get deeper into as we get further along in this group today, so that you have some really great tools to be able to engage. Okay. Now, the other side of this is that we're also constantly projecting out of our eyes. Okay, so every intuitive sense is not just a receiver, it is also a projector. So receiving empathically, I feel it in my gut, right? If I am in energetic dynamic and I'm feeling it more physically, it's going to be more solar plexus. If I am giving energy rather than taking on things, it's more from my heart. That empathic caring, where you give life force, you give energy. Clairaudience is a dialogue, right? So every thought is a conversation that threads to an origin through time and space and dimension, right? So every thought that we have is an intuitive conversation with something from somewhere, not just self. Okay. With our eyes, you are projecting and then seeing your projections most of the time. That is your first filtration. That's the thing. Our beliefs are projected out and then we see it. So what is it that we're looking for? And you'll have people where they're looking for the bad, right? They're looking for things. And what are they always having confirmation of? The bad. Okay. People that are optimistic, they're looking for the good. You know, what are they always confirming? The good. They end up receiving back experiences that relate to their projections. And yet, is it one or the other? What is the highest truth? Can it be both? Or is it something completely different that's being missed? So the eyes start to have all this dualism to it. The eyes start to have all this stuff of like, what is the truth? If I am seeing what I'm projecting out. Like, have you ever walked down the street and witnessed something happening and you're with somebody else and you start talking with them to like relive the story a little bit, and they're like, no, but it was like this and you didn't see that and you saw this other angle to it. There's just these different perspectives, but you actually experience such different things. So how do we open up to seeing a larger thing? And this has to do with our projections. If you want to see through the veils, is to stop looking. This is key number one, is to not look for the spirit, is to observe the spirit, is to gaze, to actually soften your vision.